Hey guys, I'm Crystal, and I am back with part two of Trooper Proctor's text messages. We are going to go through the rest of these, and I'm going to explain to you why I believe this case just got a lot bigger than Karen Reed. This case is now about the integrity of our judicial system. And as we go through these, I'm going to explain to you why I believe that and why now I don't believe I could vote anything but not guilty based on some of these text messages, based on the way they conducted the investigation, based on the lack of chain of custody on any of the evidence, I believe. This can't be how our judicial system works. If this is the case, hell, we can put anybody in prison for anything because we can just take the word of some witness because we know them, or because we know who they are, or because they're a big shot in the town. Now, I have no idea. I don't care anything about the conspiracies. I really don't. I did not even know anything at all about Turtle Boy and the conspiracies or anything until I started watching this trial. All of my opinions are based on what has happened in trial. So here we go. And just a side note, these are just my opinions. That's it.
Message sent 5/20/2022 at 6:19 p.m. The last message sent 8/31/2022 at 9:16 p.m.
And what, if any, indication does it give as far as number of messages within that text chain?
1,632.
And of those 1,162, there's one message that's listed on that. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what is the date and time of that message, and what does it say? Who's speaking?
This is me speaking on June 9th, 2022 at 4:56 p.m. I text my wife waiting to lock this whack job up.
And what are you referring to in that text, sir?
I'm referring to the arrest after Ms. Reed was indicted by the grand jury.
And again, as far as the terminology that you use in that text message to your wife, why is it?
Again, unprofessional messages I should not have sent. I don't have an explanation other than they're regrettable and something I'm not proud of, the language I used.
I know I touched on this a little bit in part one, but I just have to say it again. He does not look like a man that is remorseful. He does not look sorry. He looks upset that these are being blasted out to the world to see or hear, but I don't buy that he's remorseful at all. I don't care about what he calls her. I mean, yes, it's unprofessional, but that's not even the stuff that bothers me the most. The things that bother me the most are the gift. And he makes it clear that his mind was made up within 16 hours. He makes that very clear. And we'll hear more about that even later, especially once we get to cross. But those are the things that bother me the most. You know, the name calling, it's horrible. And like he said, very unprofessional. Is he sorry? No. We haven't heard an apology at all. So, but that's not even the part that bothers me. The part that goes towards the integrity of the investigation is many of the other texts. He made up his mind within 16 hours after only talking to 3 people. That's it. And that was done. No more investigation was needed. She was guilty. Let's lock this whack job up. I mean, that's just crazy. That is not justice anywhere. If he wanted justice, he would have conducted a thorough investigation. Ensure you're getting the right person, and not just, even if you really believe it's her, you do the thorough investigation to make sure it doesn't slip through the cracks, because you have to investigate everybody. You know, the old saying, everybody's a suspect until they're not, until they're ruled out. I don't see where you ruled anybody out, because nobody was ever a suspect. The only person that was ever a suspect was Karen Reed. That's it. Let's continue.
I approach Rodrigo.
Yes. All right, so Trooper Proctor, the jurors can't hear you. So speak directly into your microphone the way I'm doing, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sir, before I get into that, though, if I could turn your attention back to some of the comments on the language used in the January 29th and February 1st or 2nd text communications among your friend group. With reference to that particular time frame and the language that you used, what sort of information had you gathered to that point, and why would you say or use that particular language particularly in your descriptions of the defendant?
So this was, 16, 18 hours later, and I conducted multiple interviews.
Speak up.
Conducted multiple interviews. We knew Mr. O'Keefe never went into Fairview Road. We knew there was one shoe at the scene, one shoe at the hospital. Mr. O'Keefe, based off Mr. O'Keefe's injuries, Miss Reed's statements when Sergeant Buchanan and I interviewed her, her broken taillight, the missing taillight, some taillight pieces found at the scene, the compelling evidence pointing directly at Miss Reed that she struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle led me to make those comments. Whether, like I said, they weren't professional comments, but based on the day's investigation, it was clear that Miss Reed had struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
Sir, if I could turn your attention to the documents before you, do you recognize those?
I do.
And as far as the participants in that particular conversation, who are the participants listed there?
It's Trooper David DeChico and myself.
And Trooper DeChico and yourself both work within the same unit with the state police, is that correct?
That's correct.
And beyond the professional relationship you have with yourself, between yourself and Trooper DeChico, how would you characterize your relationship, generally speaking?
We're buddies, we go off together, hang outside of work, our kids play together. So I'd say, we're friends.
Now, within again, as far as the first message sent, date and time, and last message sent, date and time within this conversation, if you could describe that for the jury.
First message sent, date and time, March 17th, 2022, 11:08 a.m. Last message sent, date and time, August 18th, 2022, 6:08 a.m.
And again, the number of messages listed within this text chain?
87.
And fair to say the documents before you do not contain 87 text messages, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Now, just in general terms, if you have an opportunity to just look at the first couple of pages there, fair to say those are just sort of jokes that you have going back and forth between yourself and Trooper DeChico. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now, if I could turn your attention specifically to page 2632. And these are text messages starting on April 28th, 2022 at 10:52 in the morning. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, what was the time again, sir?
April 28th, 2022, 10:52 a.m.
Yes, correct.
And again, sir, with reference to this page, if you could read the content to the jury, please indicate whom is speaking at each respective times.
Okay. I said out without a doubt, he's got diarrhea of the mouth too. Trooper DeChico, rookie move, not going into a meeting with the ME and getting that homicide determination. I respond, Yuri and I had two conference calls with her, sent her numerous photos, etc. We laid out the entire case for her. Trooper DeChico responds, not good enough, should have had me or Jeff do it. I respond, if you two did it, she would have made it accidental or natural causes.
And can you explain the context of those communications, or what exactly is it that you and Trooper DeChico are talking about in that communication?
Okay, so the ME is the medical examiner. They conducted the autopsy of Mr. O'Keefe.
Who I would remind you, we still have not heard from. At this point, we're on day 22 of the trial, and we still have yet to hear from the ME. I'm assuming the same ME that he is referring to in these text messages. We still haven't heard from them. So we still don't have a cause of death 22 days into this trial. It is maddening, y'all. It is maddening.
Our office, it's kind of a little bit of locker room.
Hold on, wait for the ambulance, and then speak up. The jurors can't hear you way back where the court officer's standing.
So like I said, the ME stands for medical examiner. They conducted the autopsy of Mr. O'Keefe. I guess I'll address the conference calls Sergeant Buchanan and I had with the medical examiner. The doctor had some questions as to the facts and evidence, kind of what had transpired, which is common. Even if it's a homicide, I've had many calls with the medical examiner's office, even if it's a suicide or overdose, always with a homicide, the doctor wants to know what transpired. Trooper DeChico and myself, we kind of like to bust each other's chops, go back and forth. So that's what he meant by saying, rookie move, not going into a meeting with the ME and getting that homicide determination. The original determination came back.
Sustained. Next question, Smelly.
I sure would like to know what the original determination came back as. And the way he worded that makes me think she changed her determination. So, But I will say, he's right. It's not uncommon for the detectives to talk to the ME because a lot of times the ME does need. The problem is They don't have a lot of this information either because they did not investigate.
Now, as far as attending the autopsy, is that something that typically someone within your office would do, within your unit would do with regard to any sort of death investigation?
Yes.
And do you know who attended the autopsy of Mr. O'Keefe in this specific case?
Trooper O'Keefe.
And so as far as Trooper DeChico's reference to you not going in, or Sergeant Mechanic not going in, is that what you believe Trooper DeChico was referring to in that message?
Objection.
Sustained as to the form.
You indicated that you and Trooper DeChico busted each other's chops. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And can you describe a little more, expound upon that as far as the nature of your relationship and sort of the text messages that you exchanged in this and then other communications that you have?
Basically just, kind of needling each other, and him doing that is by saying, texting me, rookie move, not going into meeting with the medical examiner. So that's a perfect example of him kind of just needling me, which we do on a daily basis.
And as far as your interpretation of that, did you interpret that as a serious comment or something said in jest?
I interpreted that as a typical joke from Trooper DeChico.
Now, may I approach Trooper Tree?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you recognize that?
Text messages between myself and Trooper DeChico.
And again, what is the first message sent, date and time, last message sent, date and time, and number of messages contained therein?
First message sent, date and time, April 28th, 2022 at 1:09 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, April 28th, 2022, 4:45 p.m.
And the number of messages, sir?
4.
And if you could read the contents of those messages contained therein. Please indicate who's speaking.
So I start out, of course, it's undetermined. She was a whack job. Trooper DeChico responds, "Dear God, WTF, what the hell is inconclusive about the whole thing?"
And as far as your indication there, as far as she was a whack job, who are you referring to there?
Miss Reed.
Do we really believe that he was referring to Miss Reed that time? I mean, I know he referred to her as a whack job earlier when he was talking about locking her up, but in this text string, it sounds more like he's referring to the ME as being a whack job. Apparently, the ME's first conclusion, or original, I think is the way he worded it earlier, was inconclusive. And I think he was calling her a whack job for ruling it inconclusive. I don't believe for a minute, but good try, Proctor. Good try.
Now, as far as the undetermined of what you're talking about, what is sort of the content or the context of this conversation?
That would be the manner of death was determined to be undetermined by the medical examiner's office.
And so I ask you again, as far as your reference there in the bottom of the first page, as far as she was a whack job, who do you believe you're referring to there?
Again,
Reed or the medical examiner?
Miss Reed.
No, I
May I
don't
approach
believe
her?
that.
Yes.
Do you recognize those, sir?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize those to be?
Another text thread between myself, Trooper DeChico, and Trooper Kokowski.
And Trooper Kaskowski is another trooper within your unit in the state police, is that correct?
Yes.
And again, if you could read from the first message sent, date and time, and the last message sent, date and time.
First message sent, date and time, 5/24/2022, 9:21 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, 8/24/2022, 4:56 p.m.
And as far as the number of messages indicated within this text chain between yourself, Trooper Kakowski, and Trooper DeChico,
494.
fair to say the documents before you do not contain 494 text messages, correct?
Correct.
Just in reference to that first page 2635, first message sent, that's May 24th, 2022, around 9:21 p.m., is that correct?
Yes.
And that's a message sent from Trooper Kaskowski, is that correct?
Correct.
And what is that?
Appears to be a picture of a toy Santa Claus.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2644. If I could direct you to the bottom of the page, sir, and see the text from yourself at June 9th, 2022 at 11:19 p.m.
Yes.
Very bottom of the page. You know, I may approach just to point it out.
Yes.
Yeah, I see it, sir. Okay.
If you could read what you wrote on June 9th, 2022, around that time, sir.
If you like women who shit themselves.
And again, sir, what is it that you're referring to there?
Again, a regrettable comment I made about Miss Reed's medical condition.
Now, if I could direct you to the following page, 2645. And again, if you could read from that page as far as who is, indicate to the jury who is speaking and what is being said on page 2645.
I'm speaking right now. The statement she made tonight at 8/7 was mental. Thank Christ it was on BWC, which is body worn camera. Trooper Kukowski responds, that's her. Smoke. Trooper Kukowski again, what'd she say? I respond, said the Alberts beat the shit out of O'Keefe, left him for dead, and that's why her taillight was cracked. She's gross. Trooper DeChico, oh, fuck her, bitch.
I find that part interesting because it really makes it sound like from early on she believed he was beat up in the house, from real early on. But it seems like, and I don't know if it was from the trial, as much as I tried to stay away from all the outside noise of the trial, when you're on X, Twitter, whatever we want to call it now, you can't. It's there. I mean, I gave up on that weeks ago, so I don't remember, but so I try not to cross what I've seen on Twitter and what is in the actual trial, or that I learned watching the trial, because there's some things we learn when the jury's out. But it seems like I've seen in a lot of places that it was a long time later after that that her defense came up with the theory that she was beat up. But for some reason, the way all of this makes it sound, and then that recording that they have of her, and I'm assuming that's what he's talked about earlier, it sounds like, because she said, what, we're all in on the same joke? Colin, and I don't remember how she said it exactly, something to the effect of, we're all in on the same joke, right? Colin and Brian beat him up, my taillight's cracked, and John's face is pulverized. I believe it was something to that effect. Anyway, but it sounds like to me early on she thought he was beat up there. Now I don't know, and I don't know that part even matters. The thing so many people keep forgetting, I believe, is it is not, the defense does not have to prove she is innocent. They don't. That's not even their job. At the end of the day, when the jury comes back, they don't even come back guilty or innocent. That's not the verdict they make. It is guilty or not guilty. So that part doesn't even really matter to me when it was. What matters to me is the prosecution has to prove to me beyond a reasonable doubt that she did it, that John O'Keefe is dead, and that she is the reason John O'Keefe is dead. They've decided it was because she backed over him with her car. Yet, 22 days in, at this point, we're further ahead because I'm behind on doing this now. So now I think we're at day 24 is where I'm at right now, 25 at the time of recording this. So I don't even know. They haven't proven anything to me. We don't even have a cause of death yet. We haven't heard from an ME. And we are that many days into this. None of this makes any sense whatsoever.
Sir, with reference to that last bit, as far as June 9th, 2022, what was going on that day in reference to this matter again?
Miss Reed was being processed at the Milton Barracks.
Thank you.
Okay, that was on June 9th. So that was about 6 months.
I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
What do you recognize those to be?
Another text thread with members from my office, troopers.
And who are the troopers that are listed within that?
Trooper Chris Moore, Trooper Jeff Kukowski, Lieutenant John Fanning, Trooper David Chico, and Sergeant Yuri Buchanan.
And what is the first message sent, date and time?
That would be 5/26/2022 at 8:19 p.m. Last message sent, date and time, 8/26/2022, 5:36 p.m.
And what is listed as far as the number of messages within this chain?
651.
And it's fair to say the documents before you do not contain all 651 of those messages within this chain. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, sir, if I could direct your attention to page 2682. You see a message sent from Trooper DeChico on August 17th, 2022 at 9:42 p.m.
Yes.
And is that an image contained on the next page, which is 2683?
Yes, it is.
And what is the image of?
That is a picture of Mr. Yannetti, appears to be from quite some time ago.
Now turning your attention to the next page, 2684. And there's a response from you, August 17th, 2022 at 9:44 p.m. Is that correct?
Sorry, go with the date and time again, please?
So page 2684, 8/17/2022, 9:44 p.m.
Yes,
You see there's like sort of three responses from you.
I have you now.
If you could just read the three responses from yourself, sir.
Okay, so these came from me. Funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. No nude so far. I hate that man. I truly hate him.
Now, with reference to the investigation at this point, you're talking about his client's phone. Who are you referring to?
Miss Reed.
And with regards to the phone at that point, can you describe for the jury sort of what's going on during this time period of August 17th, 2022 in regard to Ms. Reed's phone?
So after obtaining a search warrant for Miss Reed's phone, we weren't able to extract any data from it until August of 2023. Troopers in my office knew I was going through the phone that evening. I was most interested in location data, text messages, Google searches. That was the update I gave the troopers in the office. It was
And nudes. Let's not forget nudes. He was also interested in nudes, not just the locations, data, and all of that stuff. The nudes. He was looking for the nudes.
a distasteful joke. I should have gave a proper update instead of that. I wasn't able to go through the phone as thoroughly as possible because I came across some a text between an attorney and Miss Reed, so I had to stop going through her phone. And it made my supervisor.
Okay. At this point, with what we've learned about Trooper Proctor and his character, because I do think all of these text messages go to his character without a doubt. Do you really believe he stopped going through her phone when he saw those messages between her and her attorney? I don't. I think he read all of those messages. No, we've seen his character.
Aware of those communications.
Now, just in reference to what you had just said, this is in August of 2022. Is that correct?
Correct.
So after a search warrant is obtained for the defendant's phone, where did it go? You indicated you gave it to Trooper Garino, and where did it go?
Trooper Garino essentially hooks it up to a device called Grey Key, where he tries every possible combination passcodes in order to access the data contained in the phone.
And at that time, when you retrieved it pursuant to the search warrant, you didn't have the passcode to the defendant's phone. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that device is designed to sort of go through numbers and try to find a combination to get into the phone, correct?
Correct.
And so from the time that you had seized it in late January or on January 29th, 2022, until this date in August of 2022, had you been able to get into the phone or see anything in the phone in those intervening months or 7 months between January and August?
No.
And so then at this time that you're sending this text message in August of 2022, is that around the time that you were first able to access the phone? Objection.
I'll allow it.
Yes, that was the first time we were able to have access to the phone.
And with reference to your access to the phone, were you looking for nudes or anything like that in regard to the defendant? Objection.
I'll allow it.
Like I stated, I was most interested in Miss Reed's location data, text communications, Google searches, things of that nature. More evidence contained within the phone.
Yeah, right. We know he was looking for nudes. He let his buddies know he was looking for nudes.
And so, sir, you mentioned at some point you came across some information that caused you to sort of freeze your looking through the phone. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so as far as that specific time period in August of 2022, when was the next time that you or any troopers from your office were able to actually look at any extraction of the defendant's phone?
So once I came across that text communication that took place on the 29th between Ms. Reed and an attorney, the phone had to be sent off to what they call a taint team to remove any attorney-client privilege information from the phone, and then it would be returned to us as well as defense received a copy of that as well. I'm not positive on the time. It was quite a long turnaround for that process to be completed.
Sometime at least in the spring or summer of 2023. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right.
So now we get to start cross-examination. First time I heard the text messages, I was shocked. There was a lot more to them than I expected. You know, I guess I had a little bit of a preview from the opening statements. I didn't know anything about it till I started watching the trial. But I thought they were a lot worse than they sounded. Or I thought they were a lot worse than I had anticipated or than the opening statements led to. And so when Lally first started introducing the messages, I thought, oh, well, about time he's going to try and get ahead of something. Kind of take the sting out of it for the defense. But I got to tell you, he didn't take the sting out of anything for me. It stung. So when Alan Jackson comes up, I was not surprised that it already stung, and Jackson, he is gonna make it sting a lot worse. So let's go with Cross.
Trooper Proctor, in the summer of 2022, August 17th specifically, you were sitting at your desk, presumably alone at your office, at about 10 p.m. at night, going through my client's personal cell phone, correct?
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, you were sitting there texting with your friends and colleagues at Massachusetts State Police about you going through her personal cell phone. Is that right?
Correct, sir.
And that included Trooper DeChico, is that right?
DeChico, yes, sir.
Trooper Fanning, Trooper Butnick, Trooper Moore, and Trooper Kaczkowski.
Kakowski.
Tell me that again?
Kakowski.
Kakowski.
Yes, sir.
All right, all the consonants are silent. Fair enough.
I do like how Alan Jackson went through every one of these troopers' names as a reminder to the jury of who all is on these messages, because it does. That's the thing about these text messages, the ones to his trooper buddies. It doesn't just go to his state of mind. It can also go to theirs, and it goes to the bias he had, but it also goes to the bias of the other people in this text message string. Trooper B, I believe he even likes one of some of them are laughing back at it. So I really liked that Alan Jackson hit every one of those names again, because a lot of those are names that the jury has heard from the beginning of trial. A couple of them have testified. So I really like that he hit on all of these names again for the jury, because that's why he did that. It wasn't for Trooper Proctor. It was for the people of the jury. He wanted them to take note of everybody that is on this text string, because it doesn't just go to Trooper Proctor's bias. It goes to everybody involved in this investigation's bias.
Trooper Fanning and Trooper Butnick are your supervisors.
Yes.
And you were bragging to all 5 of them that you were going through Karen Reed's cell phone about 9:45 at night.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Is that right?
No, I wasn't bragging, sir.
How did you refer to Ms. Reed in that text exchange where you informed them that you were going through her phone?
I use regrettable language. I said going through his retarded client's phone right now.
You were shown a photograph of my colleague, Mr. Unetti, correct?
Yes.
Can I approach?
Yes.
Same document. Oh, Your Honor, I think the court has the copy that I was going to use.
I thought I gave him back to you.
You'd received a photograph. Actually, Your Honor, if I could, I would ask that this document be marked as next in order. Assuming the witness verifies itself in system.
So go ahead.
Do you recognize this document?
I do, sir.
Same document that you were shown, copy of the same document that you were shown by Mr. Unetti, correct?
Still Lally.
I've done that twice. Mr. Lally.
Correct.
All right. Is that a true and accurate reflection of the text messages that you were exchanging with Chris Moore, Jeff Kakowski, John Fanning, Vito DeChico, and Yuri Buchanan?
Notice how he got all those
Yes.
names in
That's
again.
Mr. Moore.
Okay, any objection?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'll see you outside on there. Have that, please.
Yes, ma'am.
May I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes.
Trooper Proctor, Trooper DeChico had sent you a photograph of my colleague, Mr. Unetti, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, because of the technical issue, I'm not going to display on the television. May I display this part briefly? Sure. Thank you. You see that, gentlemen?
I do, sir.
Is that the photograph that you received?
Yes.
Is that what you referred to on direct examination with Mr. Lally about receiving a photograph from Mr. Unetti?
Correct.
And then your response was what?
I hate that man. I truly hate that man.
Actually, your response was, I'm going through his retarded client's phone right now, correct?
Yes, after the picture, sir. Yes.
Who's the retarded client?
I was referring to Miss Reed again, unprofessional language.
I'm asking who you're referring to.
Miss
I know
Reed.
you've got an explanation. Who was it you were referring to as retarded?
Miss Reed.
Karen Reed, the woman sitting to my left.
Yes, sir.
The subject of your investigation as a professional, correct?
Yes, sir.
As an unbiased, objective investigator, the person that you were investigating, you referred to your bosses as retarded, correct?
Again, poor language on my part.
Poor language is one way to put it. Completely offensive is another way to put it, right?
Objection.
I've got to sustain that, Mr. Jackson.
After you referred to my client as retarded. Then you decided to make a comment about Mr. Yannetti, her lawyer, correct?
Correct.
And what did you say about Mr. Yannetti again?
I hate that man. I truly hate that man.
I hate that man. I truly hate him, correct?
Correct.
You didn't say I dislike him, disagree with him. You said I hate him, correct?
Correct, sir.
That's a visceral response to someone who's just doing a job, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask it differently.
Sure. Let me ask it this way. Were you upset or annoyed or pissed off that Karen Reed had gotten representation, legal representation, to represent her?
No, not at all. That's her right.
Well, let me ask you this. In August of 2022, you said you absolutely hate it, correct?
I don't know if I use absolutely. Yeah, I didn't use absolutely, sir.
You used truly, correct?
Truly, yes.
How do you feel about it now? Sitting right there.
I still don't care for him now.
Right. I'll let it stand.
What did you tell your colleagues that you were looking for as you sat at almost 10 p.m. at night on a Wednesday night, August 17th, 2022, looking through Karen Reed's phone?
I didn't tell them I was looking through anything. They knew I was going through Miss Reed's phone. I provided a inappropriate joke as an update. They knew I was going through location data, text messages, Google searches. But like I mentioned earlier, I stopped.
Except Trooper Proctor, none of that really professional sounding stuff ended up in your comments to your bosses, did it?
Again, it was a poor joke.
Is that yes or no?
Did not know.
It did not.
No,
As a
sir.
matter of fact, what did you write after you talked about going through the quote retarded client's phone?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
No news so far.
No nudes so far, correct?
Correct.
And you said that to your bosses.
Yes, sir.
You were looking for naked photographs of Miss Reed on a Wednesday night as you sat in your office at 9:44 p.m., correct?
No, not correct.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked for naked photos of a male suspect that you were investigating?
I don't look for naked photos on anyone's phones.
But you said you were looking for nudes of Miss Reed.
Like I said, Mr. Jackson, it was an inappropriate joke.
Sir, this is a citizen. She's a woman. You were supposed to be objectively investigating. Does your text message to your colleagues at Massachusetts State Police reflect an objective investigation of a citizen?
Objection.
You can get part of that question and ask it again.
Do you believe that your text messages were reflective of an objective investigator?
Objection.
I'll allow that. Do you believe that, Trooper Proctor?
I believe poor jokes have, in unprofessional language, have no bearing on the integrity and the facts and physical evidence of this case.
It's not that they don't have any.
Do you believe that? He made it obvious from these text messages that he didn't like her from day one. I mean, 16 hours into the investigation, he doesn't have anything nice to say about her at all. He's made up his mind. Through these text messages, you hear, I mean, he's calling her retarded. He called her a see you next Tuesday. And it actually gets worse. I'm sure you've heard them by now. But yeah, they actually get a lot worse. So yes, I do think that they have some bearing on the investigation because it shows he is closed-minded. It shows that he has a hatred for her. So it shows that he's not going to look at anybody else. And when a cop develops tunnel vision, and it happens, it does. That's why there's procedures in place to keep people from doing that. You know, that's why you have to do a thorough investigation, interviewing people. You know, I still don't understand why we don't have any interviews on video or at least audio recording. I mean, this is I started to say 2024 because that's when we're watching the trial, but all of this went on in 2022. I mean, come on. I mean, even a lot of the cases back in the 90s, you could get audio recordings. I mean, there is no reason that every witness in a case, there should at least be audio recording. Lord knows we can't count on their notes because it could take them a month to make their notes, and then they leave they say they leave half the stuff out. I'm not even sure some of the stuff they supposedly left out was ever told to them. But audio interviews would make a hell of a lot more sense. Anyway, this case is just so frustrating to me. It's all frustrating to me. Let's continue.
Bearing on the facts and integrity is that they have no place in a professional investigation because it shows bias, right?
Objection.
So I have to sustain that as asked. Go ahead and ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
You weren't so much as objectively investigating Karen Reed as objectifying her, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
Is that right?
Rephrase the question, please.
You weren't so much as objectively investigating her as objectifying her in those moments, correct?
Again, Mr. Jackson, it was a poor choice of words and a joke that I should not have texted out. But from the start of the investigation, we didn't know what we had.
And your Trooper Proctor, your point in saying no nudes so far to your colleagues in Massachusetts State Police was to suggest that you were looking for nudes and you'd update them when you found them, correct?
Incorrect.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you find any nudes of
Again,
Karen Reed?
I didn't go through the photo, sir.
Did you find any nudes of Karen Reed?
I didn't go through the photo, sir.
You weren't successful in your quest.
I came across text messages from Miss Reed to another attorney on January 29th, so I had to stop looking through her phone.
So you got sidetracked before you could get to the naked pictures of Miss Reed. Is that what you're saying?
Sustained.
To be clear, when you sent those text messages on that group chat, those text messages included, as we said, or as you said, not one, but two of your supervisors, correct?
Correct.
Were you ever reprimanded for your conduct in sending that text message?
Objection.
So that's sustained. Do we need to go to sidebar based on what you told me earlier?
We do not.
Okay, so,
I'll ask it a different way.
okay.
Did either Trooper Fanning or Trooper Buchanan dress you down in a responsive text message?
Hang on. I'll back up there in a minute. But I really want to know what that was about. I've heard a lot about this FBI investigation and things like that. And so I don't know enough about that I mean, obviously we know from the trial that there was an FBI investigation. That's how we got that's how these text messages came in. That was due to the FBI investigation. So I'm really curious if that objection had to do because he asked if he was ever reprimanded. And of course, then there was an objection. And I'm wondering if it was because, well, part of the reprimand is he's being investigated by the FBI. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the extent of the FBI stuff and what, if anything, had to throw that in there. But I don't know if all that is still going on. You hear all kinds of stuff on Twitter, X. So I don't know if there's still an FBI investigation going on, or if that's concluded, or if once this trial is over, if something else is gonna, I don't know. You hear all kind of stuff, but that objection, I feel like went to the FBI investigation. I may be completely off base, but I feel like that's what it was. Okay, I will back up just a little bit so we can hear the rest of that because I interrupted that. Sorry. Let me get back.
In that text thread for doing so.
Okay, that's sustained. Do we need to go to sidebar based on what you told me earlier?
We do not.
Okay, so,
I'll ask it a different way.
okay.
Did either Trooper Fanning or Trooper Buchanan dress you down in a responsive text message in that text thread for doing something so abhorrent as looking for nudes or referring to nudes of a female suspect or subject of your investigation? Did that ever happen?
Not that I can recall.
As a matter of fact, in reference to one of the text messages in the same string, your boss, Yuri Buchanan, actually responded to the photo of Mr. Yannetti, didn't he?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
He did, sir.
After you received the photo, that's when you said, I'm, quote, funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. Is that right?
Objection.
I'll allow this, but not too many.
Sure. Is that correct? It's on the top of page
Yes, sir.
685.
That's correct.
And Yuri Buchanan liked that comment. Funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone. Didn't he?
I see you laughed at an image here, sir. I can't tell if he liked that comment, sir.
May I approach?
Yes.
I don't know if it's just because it's faded or, yeah, my copy's faded.
Top 2685. You can use my copy if that helps.
All right. Thank you.
What do you see on the top of that page?
Sergeant Buchanan liked it.
Like what?
The going through his retarded client's phone, sir.
May I approach? Yes. I'll take my copy.
There you go.
So your supervisors at Massachusetts State Police not only didn't ride you for making comments like this, he encouraged it.
Objection.
Sustained.
Trooper Proctor, this is your direct chain of command. Is that right? Yuri Buchanan?
Yes, sir.
Did you believe that your conduct was a misuse of your authority and power as you were going through her phone in August of 2022?
Objection.
Allow it.
No, I had a warrant signed by a district clerk, Stoughton district clerk, to go through Ms. Reed's phone. I don't think it was an abuse of power. I had every right to go through that phone.
Did the warrant say anything about looking for news of my client?
Objection.
Did it
No,
say anything about that?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
So that would be an abuse of the power that was given to you by the court, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Trooper Proctor, you'd agree that the hallmark of any good investigation, as you've been taught and others in Massachusetts State Police have been taught, is that the investigation and the investigator have to be fair. They have to be impartial. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Meaning that the investigation has to be free of conflicts, right?
Yes, sir.
The investigator has to be free of conflicts, right?
Yes,
The investigation has to be free of bias. Is that right?
correct.
You can't be biased against the person that you're investigating. That would compromise the entire thing, wouldn't it?
Yes,
Basically, you follow the evidence. You're supposed to follow the evidence wherever it takes you, right?
correct.
Good or bad, top to bottom, just follow the evidence and report it back. That's how an investigation is supposed to be run, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And these are things that you learn early on at Massachusetts State Police Academy and then in your detective training. Isn't that right?
It is.
Well, literally, it's part of an oath that you took at the academy that you will, quote, faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all of the duties incumbent on you as a Massachusetts State Police trooper, right?
Yes, sir.
You swore that oath.
I did.
When you start an investigation, everybody in that investigation should be treated exactly the same. Don't you believe that's true?
Correct.
Everybody, have you ever heard the phrase, everybody's a suspect until they're not, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
It's especially important early in an investigation before all of the facts are known that the investigator is not compromised by bias, prejudice, right?
Correct.
Most important early in the investigation, because that's when the most things are up in the air. There's the cloud, the fog of not knowing exactly what the truth is, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
In other words, Trooper Proctor, you don't get to pick a suspect and then try to find evidence to support your choice, right?
Correct.
But in this case, it's exactly what you did, isn't it?
Absolutely not.
All right, Mr. Jackson, why don't we end for today?
This
Okay.
is a good place to be. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
All right, so folks, we're off tomorrow. Those same three cautions, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any
Okay, I guess I'm going to end here with part 2. And I will have to come back with a part 3 because you know we have to get through the rest of Alan Jackson's cross. There's still some messages we have not heard yet. Although Lally did introduce these ahead of time, which was surprising considering the previous witnesses. There's still some messages he didn't get in front of. And I don't know if it's because he's like, dude, you're on your own on these. I'm not touching them. Who knows? I don't know because there's still some we haven't gotten to. So this will conclude part 2 and we will be back with part 3 and I will try to get both of these out by tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Y'all have a great day. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you'll know when the next one's out.